Hello and welcome to the Pots and Trowels podcast with me, Martin, Sean
Hi.
and Jill.
Hi.
Hello. And we've got a really action-packed episode for you today because I'm going to be going out to a tropical garden, but it's in England, actually in Lincolnshire, and you'll find out how they've created that over the last 30 odd years.
We need to say thank you to our sponsors, Plant Grow, who are based in the gorgeous Norfolk countryside, and they turn the waste from making green electricity into a range of good things for our garden. So lots of mulches and topsoil and compost and even plant food.
Yeah, brilliant it is.
Lovely stuff. And coming up later, we were answering some of your questions. Do remember, send us an email. If you've got a question, info@potsandtrowels.com. But we're going to be answering one on perennial geraniums. So if you've got geraniums, keep listening. But first, I think we should probably go and find out more about this tropical hidden garden.
Jenny, tell me how this garden all started for you and Roger.
It was our youngest son who said, Dad keeps mowing down the bluebells down the side of the original old hedge there. He's the creature person in the family. So I said I'd dig some up, and cut a patch in the grass and put them in there. At which point Grandma said, oh, does he want a bit of this and a bit of that? And the patch doubled. And I thought it looked nice, so I just kept digging.
Right, and that was about 30 years ago, is that right?
Yeah, I've lost count. Early to mid-90s.
Right, yeah, it would be, just over 30 years ago. And it's quite a long plot. You've got a long, thin plot. I think you said it was about a fifth of an acre.
Yeah, Roger reckons fifth of an acre, but he says that includes the house, which is right onto the road front anyway.
So instead of just being lawns now with a few plants, we have got this amazing exotic jungle garden known as the Secret Garden of Louth, because we're in Louth in Lincolnshire. And just describe the scene to us.
Well, nowadays it's just rammed full of anything that's big leaves, foliage. I just love foliage, shapes, sizes. So much can be done with it. You can even get lots of colour, and that's hopefully what people feel as soon as they walk in. People's jaw drops when they come through the gate because it's so far away from anything out the front. And it's just like walking into another world, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. The first time we visited a couple of years ago, it was one of your National Garden Scheme NGS Open Days, and you come through the gate and you are just, you see all these wonderful trees, exotic palms and ferns and bananas, beautiful foliage plants. So I bet lots of people are really shocked, aren't they? In a nice way.
Because there's nothing out front. No. There's 3 foot and a wall and a bit of a crabby road, you know what I mean? Very ordinary outside built up area. I never display any plants or anything out there. You can't really. So, you see a very ordinary house, people pull up and you can see them looking and thinking, oh, is this it? But
until they come through the gate.
They come through the gate and their expression just changes and they're full of it as they're going out, and pleased they came, thankfully.
Well, we are going to talk about some of the plants in part 2 and some of your top tips. And if anybody's listening to this and they want to see the garden in much more detail, then we've also videoed it. So it's on our YouTube channel and we look at some of Jenny's really, really unusual plants. So to create this, it started 30 years ago. You are still adding to it. You are a compulsive plant buyer and you're always trying to squeeze things in. And I would imagine you've got, I don't suppose there are thousands and thousands of plants here. You're helped by Roger. It's just the two of you. You do this on your own.
Yeah, just the two of us. We plod away at it and somehow it just all gets planted out, put out, laid out, whatever. And then the same in reverse this time of year. We just chip away at it. And, bonus of being retired, of course, now. But then I think back, well, actually, we still managed it when we were working. It was probably just more stressful.
Yes, and working longer hours and that type of thing. I mean, you must obviously get lots of pleasure, and it is open to the public in the summer, but it's essentially a garden for all year round as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm still now, as we're getting longer in the tooth, realising we won't be able to dig and lift and do the amount of heavy work that we do now. So I'm buying hardier plants. As everything's grown, you're creating more shade here. So woodland plants are fantastic because you can find some that have wonderful foliage. So that I've still got a really full leafy garden, hopefully, when we can't bring all this big stuff out. And of course, you know, hopefully I'll still be planting seeds and grow ricinus. So they're a big, you know, they're a big bonus to make anything look exotic, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And you say big plants. You have got some big plants, because we're standing in front of bananas and ensete, which are a banana-like plant that you've cut them back a little bit to overwinter them. But they're big plants to lug in and out, aren't they?
They are. Thank heavens for sack barrows. That's our bestest friend of all, is the sack barrow. We couldn't manage without it, you know, really now. So yeah, things can get wheeled about, and if you really want to do something, you can surprise yourself in what you can manage to do. If you want to do it badly enough, you find a way.
Yeah, and we're standing in the garden now, and it is looking amazing. We're at the end of October. You know, we are well into autumn. Not had a lot of cold weather, but I think this frost's on the way. So you and Roger are busy digging up the tender things that aren't frost hardy, and they're all going in. Hence the reason we've got all these in pots.
We leave it all stood out here, potted and ready. And obviously some stuff that's tender stays out in a pot all year round. So everything is at the ready, nearest to the conservatory, so that when it's threatening big time and temperatures are dropping night time, which you know, we can just say, okay, today's the day, and we start bringing it under cover.
And I would imagine it's like sort of trying to shoehorn them in, isn't it? A quart into a pint pot.
I'm really good at packing. You know, you have pots stood on top of pots. When these big ensete pots go in, and other bigger pots, there'll be pots of smaller things stood on around them. You know, you find a way.
And the aim is just to keep them just frost-free over winter.
Yeah, the conservatory is obviously warmer than the greenhouse. The greenhouse has, the big one has heaters in just to keep it sort of 3 degrees, something like that. The bottom greenhouse they're both bubble wrapped, but it doesn't have a heater in at all. Things that just want that little bit of protection go in there. And the conservatory has no heating, but it is an old house, solid brick, so amount of heat, you know, that odd degree can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, can't it?
Exactly, yes.
So, yeah, when it's all closed up and they're all snugly in there together, generally...
And I think some of the...
get below 5 or 7
that's
on
ideal.
a normal winter, you know.
And some of the real tender ones have then got a bedroom, haven't they?
That's right. As we're getting older, we think we might have to have a stanner stair lift just to get the plants upstairs. But hey-ho, we have sons who are very helpful like that. So, yeah, house full of plants instead of children now. So there's propagators and all the really tender stuff has already gone up there.
Yes, yeah. And I can see you've got the grow lights on there to give them good light. And they feel like they're growing in the sunshine, don't they?
Hopefully, yeah. They seem to respond well to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it's all looking amazing even at this time of the year. I know August, September are the prime times for it. So what we're going to do is just take a little break, come back, chat a bit more about it. And I'd like some of your top tips to encourage people to grow some of these wonderful exotic looking plants.
Okay, will do. See you in a bit.
Well, coming up, we'll be answering some listeners' questions. As we said, there's that one about geraniums. We've also got some questions about dahlias coming up. But something Jenny mentioned, and you were talking about in the garden, that, you know, if people haven't seen our YouTube video, which is coming out soon, do have a look at that. But about foliage. I mean, I think foliage is underrated, isn't it? People talk about flowers and colour in the garden, but I think you can get so much interest from foliage, can't you?
Yeah, and it worked really well in that situation, because you've got great big bold leaves and pointy leaves and tall leaves and different coloured leaves.
The textures as well, though, because every leaf has a different texture, and there were some real lumpy, bumpy ones, there were some spiky ones, there were feathery ones.
The shiny ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
So everything's so
And I think
different.
that's worth thinking. I mean, this was obviously a tropical, exotic style garden that Jenny and Roger have created there. But in any garden, people forget foliage. And especially at this time of the year when all the leaves are falling off the trees, if you've got some evergreens with variegated or red leaves or different shapes, it just gives that colour and structure right the way through the winter when you notice it more.
Yes, I mean, our leaves have fallen off now, but we have an acer that has a wonderful red leaf on it, and I just absolutely love it.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, not only the evergreens, but the ones that change colour. It's all adds to the change of the garden, doesn't it?
Yeah. And obviously tropical plants plants in this instance. There was mention of bananas and things. I'm assuming no fruit. No quick cheeky banana, keep your energy levels up.
I think not. I mean, they'd got some what we call hardy bananas, because you can put some in the garden that you stay in, and as she said, they're root hardy, so the tops can be cut back by the frost. Some people wrap them in fleece and sacking, but the root stays alive, and then it will grow again with those ginormous leaves again. The fruiting ones that you can get, so the Cavendishii types, I think you'd struggle in the UK to get them to. Sure. You'd have to take them in the winter, bring them out. In a glass house, I've seen them in sort of Kew botanical gardens, where they're in heat all year round. They can get them to fruit. But
I mean, I mention it because obviously I've got an ulterior motive.
Well,
okay, so a little pot here of our homegrown Nottinghamshire olives.
Wow, this could be the start of a new business.
I know. Can you see we've got say 7 or even 8 of them there?
Yeah.
That's not bad, is it?
It's quite
and
unusual.
the fact that they've actually grown and ripened. I'm going to show onto the camera, but I mean, what would I do with those if I wanted to eat them?
Don't eat them as they are, for sure, because they taste. Have you tried one at all? They're really, really bitter. So you need to get rid of that bitterness. We did it years ago, because we've only ever had one crop from an olive tree, and I seem to remember that you have to put them into brine, so a salt water solution, and keep changing that every day. And that draws the bitterness out of the olive. Several days, I think you do that for. And then you pack them away. So you can either put them into more brine solution or I think I put mine into some olive oil. You put some garlic and some herbs in there as well.
I might just plant them, to be honest.
Yes. But I mean, we've got the olive we planted in the garden probably a year or so ago, wasn't it? Or was it this
we
spring?
did a video.
We did a video on it, didn't we? One that had been in a
got
pot.
a video on it?
Yes. Surprise. It's one that had been in a pot for years, and it was struggling, to be fair, because it was just so pot bound and we didn't really want to go any bigger. So we put it in the garden, and it's done really well this summer. It's been a perfect year for it, of course, that lovely hot sunny weather, and it's made good extension growth, and it's flowered, but we never get on that one fruits that get bigger than sort of a pea, and they never ripen. So I think you've done really well.
This is the first time. I mean, we've had pea-shaped ones before.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we had one pea-shaped one, then maybe a couple pea-shaped. I think it's been such a hot summer in the UK that it's been quite like, where these things are normally grown in, in Mediterranean.
Did they drop off, or did you pick them?
No, I've picked them because I was just fascinated, and part of me was like, right, that looks right. Maybe it's not quite right, but it looks ripe to me. And I thought, I don't want it to drop and get lost. So I thought I'd make a little collection.
Well, there you go.
There's a couple more on there, actually. But
I think in the south of England, I think they are planting olives now, aren't they? That sort of
For production.
For production. So, the way things are going, you could have a very productive little sideline here, Sean. 7 olives today, tomorrow the world.
On that note, maybe we should find out about some listeners' questions and switch sideline. That's why let's sideswipe into that. I can't even speak today. Jill, do you want to start with a question?
I do. I've had one on the email, which of course is info@potsandtrowels.com, and this is from a regular listener to us, Alison Roger, who is in Derbyshire, and Alison has a question about perennial geranium. So good afternoon to all the team. I wonder if I could get a definitive answer on perennial geraniums. Currently mine are still in leaf, still looking okay and not wind battered as yet. I've removed flowering stems, but when do I need to cut back to ensure I'm in tune with their growth requirements? I Chelsea chopped them in early summer. Thank you, as always, for your advice to help solve my horticultural dilemmas.
No, it's a pleasure, Alison. And the herbaceous hardy geraniums have done so well this year. We've got a couple of different types, and one in particular, one called Roseanne, which is a quite a big blue flower with a dark centre, has done really well. In fact, we've still got a few flowers on it, but a month, 6 weeks ago, it was in full flower, and it's been in flower really since May, non-stop. Quite a sprawling one. It's going over now, but essentially you don't need to cut it back until spring if you don't want to do. But what you'll probably find is now we're starting to get some colder weather. I mean, we had a frost earlier this week, and that's sort of cooling the soil down, and the leaves are going a bit yellow. So essentially, when the foliage and the stems have gone yellow and are naturally dying back, you can then, if you want, get your shears or your secateurs and give it a trim back to just above ground level. I will do that with ours. Maybe another week or so when they've gone all sort of yellow and horrible and they collapse on the border, I give them a good tidy up that can go onto the compost heap, and then you leave them, whether you're going to mulch around them or improve your soil, but essentially they will just then naturally wake up, usually early March, depending on the weather, you'll see those new shoots. So whether you do it in the late autumn or leave that growth on over winter and do it late winter, early spring, doesn't really matter. It won't affect their growth.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We've had a nice message from Beth Lynch on YouTube on the last podcast. She says, another good conversation. You two make you two. I've said you two. I meant you two, but obviously she very kindly has said you three.
Oh, right.
Make a great team. I was just thinking you two make a great team, but
well, we are a team.
We are.
Three, yes.
Thank you for that kind
Beth.
comment.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
A couple of dahlia related questions. Later on, we're going to have some jobs. Martin's going to have some jobs, what you should be doing in the garden this week. But a couple of dahlia questions before we do that have been on a fairly recent video about dahlia. Pauline, a regular listener and viewer over in New York. Pauline Ward-Brown asking, how do you collect seeds?
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. Good question. Because quite a lot of them, well, they will all grow from seed, depending what they are. If it's a hybrid one, then they might not come the same. So you'll get a bit of variation, but certainly a lot of them will come very similar. And we've got the single flowered ones that we grew from seed. I've got a little pink one, and the name escapes me. That one comes true to type. So what you want is the obviously when they finish flowering, the seed head develops into a slightly different shape to the flower bud. So it's worth knowing.
Is this when we did the deadheading video on how to...
That's right. So when they're in bud, the flowers are normally round and slightly flattened top. When they flowered, it's almost like a cone shape. And there are your seed pods. The secret is you've got to try and get them dry. Now, at the moment, the weather we're having in England, certainly where we are, we've had quite a lot of overcast days, and it's been not raining, but just that damp feel in the air, and they're not drying out. So, but you've got to try and let them dry out as much as possible in that seed head, and then you can cut them off, put them on a piece of newspaper or kitchen towel, let them dry out so the seeds dry properly, and then you can take them to part. They're not small seeds, but they've got almost like a wing on them. They're easy to handle, but you've got to let them dry out. And that's the secret. Never store them damp, otherwise they'll rot off. So hopefully what we need is some good few dry days to dry those seed pods, and then you can take them off and get the seed out.
You couldn't cut them off and dry them and then...
You could do, if you think, if they're fully formed, if you've got lots, split one open, have a look. If you think the seeds are sort of visible in there and they separate, then put it on the paper somewhere not hot but dry and airy, and let them dry out a little bit, and then store them in an envelope or something over winter so they can breathe and won't get damp.
Okay. Well, related to that, on the same video, Sue's Fruit and Veg asked the question about your specific dahlias, because they noticed that there was a verbena, I think, growing through them, is it?
Yes.
Was that sown to be there, or was that a happy accident? She didn't actually use the word happy accident. That was my...
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
No. Thought it was a great combination.
Well, thank you very much for that. Yes, there was originally it's Verbena bonariensis, which we grew from seed. We planted it in various places in the border, but it seeds profusely. We get it popping up all over. We finish up pulling loads of it out. So the chances are it is one of the self-seeded ones that just happen to be next to where we put a dahlia in. And they do work really well. It's a good combination.
Yeah.
Work well with grasses as well when you've got that movement of the grass between them. So
they are amazing, those seeds, because it's next to the gravel on the paths in the veg plot, and you get them popping up in the gravel.
Yeah.
And that's got a plant, a
membrane
down underneath the gravel.
So you think, what are they growing in?
They're growing in nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's things you really struggle to get to
Yes.
root, and then there's things that root when you don't want them to. That's gardening, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we need to go and find out a bit more about the tropical garden.
We do, yeah.
But remember, just before we do go back to Jenny, info@potsandtrowels.com is our email address.
What I want to know, Jenny, is there a division of labour between you and Roger? Roger is obviously in the background working. He doesn't want to talk to us on the podcast. He's busy making bacon sandwiches as we speak.
If you hear a strange noise, it's my belly.
Oh, is it right?
Yeah.
So what about a division of labour? Is there a definite one? Because there is with me and Jill in our garden, and I would imagine you have.
Yeah, we work as a good team because what I like doing, he doesn't or isn't good at, and vice versa. So he does all the propagating for plants that we sell on open days, but also backup plants for us and extras that I might need. And he does all the watering and all the feeding, which is a big job because it's kind of year round. And he's even in the winter, he's up there with his propagators, up and down the stairs, checking on his babies. I really wouldn't have patience for that. But for me, I want to get outside and work in the garden. I don't care what time of year it is. I'm always out, even in the winter, layers and layers and a hat and a coffee in my hand, going around looking at things. And it's an all year round for me. So I like to get in there and work in the garden, which Roger's work in the garden in that sense is when he'll tell you, she says dig an hole and he says how deep. So I decide what's getting planted where, that sort of thing, and he'll come out there and dig holes, and between us we manoeuvre big plants in, and so we work together on those sort of things. But I'm the one who's makes the garden, if you like, as I suppose posh word, design it, design what's going where, and over the years you learn from growing these plants what you might expect them to do. They don't always do what you expect them to do, but you know what their potential is, and it gives you a better idea over the years of where you should put something, and light and shade. You learn all this as I have done over the years.
Yes, and it is trial and error, a lot of it, isn't it? Even because you've got no horticultural training,
None
but
at
you've
all.
got a vast, and Roger,
9
a
years
vast
of
knowledge.
gardening magazines, and doing it at the same time is what
I would
worked
think
for me.
you have got, a knowledge of sort of tender and tropical plants greater than lots of professional growers. You know a lot more of these plants than I do.
I'm not. My dad always used to say it, and my friend said it the other day. You put yourself down. I said, no, I'm being real. I don't absorb the knowledge in as much as where plants hail from, and that all I know is what I'm dealing with and how I see it perform here. I have learned a lot of the names, although head can be like a shed. Everything's in there, you can't always find it. But I don't have that sort of knowledge that horticultural training might have given some people. I'm not, I suppose in a nutshell, I'm just not an academic type, and I'm not an office brain. I'm creative.
Yeah. But the results are there before us, because it is absolutely stunning. And obviously you both must get a tremendous amount of joy and pleasure from it. Otherwise you wouldn't have been doing it all these years.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I know, touching on sort of sadder time, you recently have been quite ill for the last few years, haven't you?
I'm good again now, but
You are?
23 I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was like, well, I'm still opening my garden, Lots of lovely people volunteered to help on the open days, in case I couldn't get out here, expecting to go, there's days when you're going to be lousy from treatment and things. In my case, that didn't happen because one of my drugs, the first dose, nicknapped my liver. So that was the end of chemo.
Right.
And then they were treating my liver. So, but I was still very unwell from all the drugs and everything from that. But I'm good again now. But to be able to come out here and be in amongst all this, I know people saying this all the time, but it is so therapeutic. Gardening itself, getting stuck in doing something, you're thinking about what you're doing instead of what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I've always been quite positive about it, in as much as, actually, I've got to get my strength back. I want to get and do this. I don't, I'll try. And I figure, okay, so if I keep doing it, I'm going to build my strength up again. And here we are.
It's that positive attitude. I can't imagine you sitting in the house thinking, I'm ill, I've got to get better, sitting, and you want to be out with your plants, don't you?
When I couldn't do it, I still wanted to walk around it and, with my coffee in my hand and things like that. Yeah. it's got to be done.
Yeah. And, you're through that and you're looking really well and so positive and moving forward and still planting lots of plants. You've showed me your little collection of what's going to go in the garden.
Collection.
Well, but...
I've got some more here and I've got more that I've put over there. I've got plants coming out of my ears and Roger just shakes his head. In fact, I ordered some more last night, but I haven't told him yet.
He will know when he listens to this podcast, so hopefully break it to him gently before
I try and sneak them in and hide them somewhere, but he always finds them.
Okay. So we mentioned at the beginning we'd get your top tips. So this style of gardening is becoming very popular. Not everybody can do it on the scale you've done it because you are, passionate about it. But if anybody wants to get that exotic-y, tropical look in their garden, have you got a few good doers that you can put in and you're guaranteed success with?
Well, a lot of people we find are looking for things that are hardy. They're not all bonkers like us. So anything with big leaves like Rogersias, hardy bananas, Musa Basdew, they're root hardy.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to wrap them up and they die back, never mind, they'll grow again next year.
Right, so that means, yes, the palms, yeah.
They're quite readily available now, coming more so. And some of the more, like the Brassioopsis domicola, if you can get hold of one, this is probably your biggest issue. But we found that to be very hardy. With some, things, a lot of things are root hardy and come back. There's hardy colocaceas which give you these big leaves, things like pink china, Gaoligongensis. You can leave them out.
Right.
They die away and they pop back next year.
Yeah.
So if you get some of these big leaves and they're hardy plants, that's a really good base and start in your garden. And you don't need a huge space, but don't be scared of going large. If you want this atmosphere, it's no good going to knee or waist high. You've got to have things that are going to potentially in time tower above you to get the atmosphere. And a lot of these plants will. And of course there's the good old ricinus or ricinus, however you want to say it. There's various varieties you can order, and things like the Zanzibarensis potentially can get huge.
Yeah.
So there's shape and form and colour, big leaves, and even if it's like the first year you're thinking about it, if you grow some of those, drop them into your flower beds, you've got a good start. You'll get that slightly tropical feel, and it's a good place to start to encourage yourself to carry on.
Exactly. And then you never know, in 30 years' time, you might have a garden like the one you've got here.
And if you can if you can go on Facebook and things like that, there's so many groups online now that are for exotic gardening, which is where I learned about all these plants. So get on there, see what other people are growing, and you'll find there's quite a lot of plants that are good doers and are hardy and definitely will give you that exotic feel in your garden.
Okay, jolly good. Right, well, just to finish off, tell us, I know here we are now, as I mentioned, end of October. You don't open again now till next August. But just tell us, because you raise a lot of money for charity, don't you?
Yeah, but you're not going to ask me the numbers, are you? Because I can't remember.
It was quite a lot of thousands, wasn't it?
Roger reckoned it was actually this year, I think it was over 8,000 in total. Yeah, and that was opening 2 days a week throughout August. Yeah, it was because all the gate money goes to the NGS and all the teas money goes to the Salvation Army. So lumped together, it's
good,
sort of
yes.
total, yeah.
And it's a brilliant visit if you can do it. So we're in Louth in Lincolnshire, in the lovely Lincolnshire Wolds. You've got a website as well, or a Facebook, haven't you? Facebook, which is Secret Garden of Louth. And the great thing is there's plant sales, so you can pick up a few lovely plants when you're visiting as well, all propagated by Roger.
Yeah, he's a dab hand at this propagating lark. Once he found out he could do it, he soon got hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something magical about taking a bit off a plant and getting it to root, isn't there? Yes.
He loves it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you for giving us a look round. We're going to put some pictures over this. And as I mentioned, we've done a video of this so you can see it in more detail. Jenny and Roger, I can smell the bacon, so I think we need to stop. Thanks for letting us have a look round.
You're most welcome. Pleased to have you here. Thank you.
So coming up, Martin has a tip on how you can get some plants for free, which we all
we all
love,
like
don't
that
we?
idea, yeah.
We do,
But I
yes.
think Roger is the master of that, isn't he? They are such a good team.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it.
They are, yeah. They both have their definite jobs, and Roger has taken to propagating like a
Yes.
duck to water. He's got cuttings everywhere. The front bedroom that we went into, I didn't get a photograph of that. I think I've got one of the lights in the back bedroom with all the plants being overwintered, the tender ones. But he has this very sophisticated propagation unit in the front bedroom, again, under lights, where there is sort of water underneath and you plant down into the water. It's and moving around. And he's basically, I think, can more or less root anything now. I think you could take your walking stick, stick it in, and it would root.
Nice.
He's a master propagator.
Obviously,
He
has got
produces
green fingers.
thousands of plants.
Yeah.
Because those lights in bedrooms normally you have to be careful about, because that implies something
Yeah.
very
Well,
different.
yes,
You get a
they're
police
pretty visible.
helicopter
I think
flying above.
everybody knows them in the area. So yes, but you would think if you were driving down the road and think, there's a lot of lights in the bedroom.
Well, she did say she's got plants coming out of her ears, and I thought, and then she was saying about sneaking plants in, but I thought that was a bit like you
That's
two.
too
It's
close
like
to home.
Martin trying
Yeah.
to sneak plants past you, Jim.
Yeah, I have to hide them around the back of the greenhouse
Yeah.
for a while, and then Jill will say, "Where's that plant come from?"
Oh, we've had that ages.
So and so gave it me. Yes,
That's like me
Yes.
with guitars.
Yeah, they grow a lot of plants, and
They do.
because partly it's to spread them around, so it's just spreading the love of these wonderful plants.
Yeah, and also backups. I know
Yeah,
she mentioned
exactly,
backups,
yeah,
because
they
obviously
have
if
to
you
do it.
lose a plant, then
Yeah.
if you've got you've got a backup.
Yeah.
I thought it was really kind of moving to hear about her breast cancer, and I thought what an amazing resource to have that garden there as a kind of sanctuary, but also sort of a kind of a reason to kind of get moving each
Very
day.
nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a really calming garden to be in. I mean, you are walking through it. It is like being on a jungle path with all the big leaves over the top of you. And there was one area that we went into when we did the video, and we sat in this sort of sunken area with all this foliage over us. And Jenny said that is one of the places she can go there with a cup of coffee and just switch off, and it's calming. And it's I think that is the wonderful power of healing that a garden can give to people.
An oasis. isn't it?
Yeah, yes. And she's obviously thriving on the garden, and she's out there every day. So the garden's
Absolutely.
yeah.
She mentioned about kind of the varying heights, and obviously in a jungle setting, that's what you would think of. You think of kind of fighting your way through the undergrowth with kind of huge trees above you and all the rest of it. But that idea of having different heights, it's obviously important in any garden, isn't it? To try and give you that kind of, well, just the design of a garden.
Exactly. Ground cover planting is just as important as what you're looking up at. And then you've got that mid layer as well. So you want that variety in the garden, and for wildlife it's really essential if you've got that cover and different heights and different structures of plants for different birds and insects to sort of live in. So
They don't have to be jungle plants,
Oh,
do
gosh,
they?
no,
The
in
tropical
any
plants,
garden.
you can do that with any
Yes,
style of gardening you like.
And-
You can do that.
And I think that was a point Jenny was saying. She said we're not getting any younger, and they are now looking at plants that look jungly and exotic and tropical, but are actually hardy, because a big part of their job is having to dig hundreds of plants up out the garden. And we're not just talking little ones, we're talking 8-10 feet tall bananas, and they all go into the conservatory to be overwintered,
Or
and then
get covered in fleece or whatever.
and go back out and be planted, which is a massive job. So they're looking long term, I think, to buy plants that have got big leaves, tropical looking, exotic plants, but will stand the frost, and they can stay out then 12 months of the year. So it's a they've done an amazing job.
Yes.
Really is fantastic.
Yeah. Maybe I need to do a health and safety call out now, because you did talk about ricinus with Jenny, and that's not, well, there's some poisonous.
Yeah, ricinus is a plant. You grow it from seed every year. Abroad, it will live outside if you go to sort of a warmer climate, but in our climate it tends to die back, so you start it every year, and it's got a big palmate sort of hand-shaped leaf that is probably 45-60 centimeters, a couple of feet across at the end of the summer. Dark maroon red, really striking architectural plant, and you grow them from seed every year, and we've grown some this year. Seed is readily available if you go to the right seed companies. We got ours from King's, but the seed is poisonous, so just bear that in mind. It contains ricin, so it is poisonous, so just beware of that. But not to touch it,
No.
if you ingest it.
I suppose that's something about any tropical plant. You have to be aware it's going to have properties that perhaps aren't what you used to. But you can find berries in the garden and
there's so many
fungi
plants,
in the garden that's
parts of the
dangerous.
daffodil are poisonous. There's so many plants we grow.
Yeah.
We're not going to eat them, but yes,
No.
it's
Okay.
one too. But it is still available to buy a seed.
It was just flagging up something.
Yeah,
in my
no,
memory.
yes.
Little kind of warning.
Well done, Mrs. Fish. Responsible adult
Thank
here.
you.
Anyway, we should get on to what we should be doing in the garden this week and these free plants. Come
Yeah.
on.
Right. Well, I've been all the time talking about planting spring flowering bulbs, but saying hold back on your tulips.
Oh,
Well,
now
you can start. We're into
That's
November.
an official tulip go. Go for tulip.
We ought to have an alarm, didn't we? A tulip alarm.
Yeah.
We can do that.
You don't have to rush and get them in straight away, but we are in the tulip planting season.
And relax.
You've still got a few weeks, but the soil is now cooling down. I had the thermometer in the ground and it is dropping, which is what you want. So, if you've got tulips waiting and you want to get them in, go for it now. But I say you've got a month to be able to do it in. And if you can pick any up in a nursery or a garden centre end of season, you can often bag a bargain. And there is still time to plant garlic. And I say that because I haven't planted all of mine yet. I've still got some to plant. So I think
I haven't finished using up last year.
Oh, right. Well, I will.
So maybe I'll use some of that to plant for next year.
Exactly.
Okay,
Absolutely.
right,
So I'm intending to get that done, hopefully finish off today in the garden, get your garlic in, and then that will root down and start to grow. And then perennials. So Jill mentioned plants for free. If you've got spring flowering perennials or early summer flowering perennials, traditionally this is the time we would divide them. You can divide them any time of through the autumn and the spring, but because they flower in the spring or early summer, you want them to be established so you get the best out of them. So anything that is sort of flowering from April till June in your garden, things like geums, Brunnera, Dicentra, or Lamprocapnus as it's now called, all those lovely sort of early flowering ones, and even hostas, because we want them to produce a big leaf. If they're dying down now, you can lift an established clump out the garden. Some of them, like the geums, you can literally pull apart with your hand. So a big clump might divide into 6, 7, 8 new plants, spread them around the garden, make big drifts, plant them under shrubs, that type of thing. Or if it's like a hosta, they're quite difficult to pull apart. So if you dig a big clump up, stand it on a firm surface and get a spade and literally chop it like wood sections of think of it as tray bake and just cut it into squares, as long as there's 2 or 3 shoots in each one, or bigger if you want, and then plant them in. There is still sufficient warmth in the soil to get the roots growing. So come spring, they're a bit established and they will grow away and you'll still get a fantastic flowering or foliage display bin, as we're talking about foliage today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so there's some bits you can be doing in the garden.
Great. If the rain holds off, I'll be out there.
Exactly, yes. Well, I've got to plant the garlic.
You have.
Yeah.
I like my garlic.
Well, I might do the same. But my problem has been getting out there, synchronising with work when it's not bad weather and work isn't happening.
Yeah.
So, that's everybody's problem, I guess.
Exactly,
So
yes.
the grass is a bit longer than it should be because I haven't got around to mowing it.
Still time to mow it. Don't give up.
On that note, I think
Sean's going to get the lawnmower out.
Yeah.
next week is our 100th episode.
Oh,
Really? 100th
This is 99.
podcast? Is it really?
Well, sort of there's some technicalities because we'd put out some kind of like promo bits that might make it the 101st and stuff. But I think it's the 100th full episode next week.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Oh, good.
yeah.
We'll have
Party.
a party, yes.
Yeah.
Jolly good. Well, we'll see you next week then.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch the gardening videos on YouTube, Instagram or Facebook. Our short reels are also on TikTok, and all the contact details and links to all the videos and the podcast episodes can all be found at pots&trowels.com.